This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Make Your Passion Pay. I'm Luann Beekler, creator of the Make Your Passion Pay Playbook, your host and guide on this exciting journey to building joyful and successful work environments. Known as the Little Spark, I've helped countless individuals and businesses ignite their potential through transformational coaching, creating thriving businesses and joyful workplaces. I have experienced the challenges of leaving toxic workplaces and building something better. I bring firsthand wisdom to help you align your work with your values. With insights drawn from working alongside world-renowned leaders and a deep passion for community and connection, I'm here to show you how to lead with joy and purpose. Let's dive into today's episode and start making your passion pay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Make Your Passion Pay podcast. Super excited today to have my friend Karin Lubin with us. I'll tell you a little bit more about Karin in a minute. Wanted to let you know that we're still in the month of clarity, and actually who has been Beth's partner in training for many years. Beth Lefavre was with us last time, and she kind of flowed into connection and core values as well. And so Karin and I are going to circle back a little bit on clarity and how she views it. Both Karin and Beth, I met as passion test facilitators. And Karin, you were the
Director
of passion test programs.
Yes.
When we
and
met.
a master trainer at the end there.
And a master trainer, right? Excellent. And now you're doing what for yourself? Tell us about yourself, Karin.
So now I am coaching people, and my whole thing is helping people really create optimal health through body, mind, and soul connection. So whatever that looks like, we each have my name or program name is the Lubin Lifeline to longevity. So what is longevity? And to me, that is having a quality life that you love. So a lot of us at a certain time, whether it's due to stress, age, whatever, we end up with some kind of a disease or an illness or some kind of lack of clarity, or burnout or whatever it is based on in business or in your personal life. And I want people to really get super clear about what they love. So that's the clarity piece. And I want them to have it so that it's a full rounded package of health. I mean, I don't look at it just as, your physical health. That's a big piece of it. But I also think of the mental health.
Karin, I love that you're talking about longevity, and you've aligned with this, aligned the clarity with longevity as well, because there was a time when I worked at a over 55 club to get access to meeting room space. I could use their facilities if I did my workshops for free for their membership base. And then I could invite people from the outside to join us and for a fee for myself to make some money. But what I found there was people who were lost. People who were lost because they aligned their entire identity with their career. And when they retired from that professional career, they found themselves lonely and isolated and separate from others. And I'm a hugger. Got my little hug pin on today.
Good job.
But I would simply give them a hug, and they would say, when they came in, I hug people when they come to my workshops, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, that's so great. I never get a hug anymore." Oh. And so separate from others, and no sense of purpose of what they were doing in this world after 55. So for me, I have eliminated the word retirement from my language.
Absolutely.
I looked it up in the Webster's Dictionary, and it means no longer of useful service. That's awful. And so never want to be there, which is one of the reasons I started the podcast, because I can talk on a podcast forever.
Good.
It's my longevity strategy.
That's
And
funny.
you know
Yeah.
how much I love to talk, right? So what a better place for me to be is in conversation with others for the long term of the rest of my years on this beautiful planet. So, when did you find your clarity and this was where you needed to go, Karen, in this direction?
Right. So being the director of the Passion Test programs for like 13 years and working with Janet and Chris Atwood, yourself, a lot of the master trainers, Beth Lefebvre, and everyone who was there, let me just say that I learned what was most important because we went through this process of getting clear about what was most important to us today. And that I think is really important that we recognize that, our what is important to us might change. It's not like we stay stuck in this one time in our life, which is where I was many years ago when I was in education. And I thought I would be in education for the rest of my life in public education as an administrator. And before that, as a teacher. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to do until I burned out. And I think burnout is kind of the uh, one extreme of when you're not excited and about what you're doing, and that's when you want to connect in again. And so I love that Beth and you talked about connection. To me, connection was about connecting internally. And then it can be the external connection, which I know you do beautifully. I am very I think it's so important, and I know for myself, I need to connect personally in my heart first. So that passion test process that I still use to this day, I am using as a way to help get clear about what's most important. And about 5 years ago, I realized that being an administrator in any position, in any place, was not my passion anymore. My passion was actually the facilitation, the educating, and the training of others. That's what I loved. And I was also, let's see, I was in my 50s and and then of course COVID hit. And, big news, everyone knows that during COVID, lots of things changed for all of us. And I was going to, I mean, this is my personal story here, but I really decided that I was not able to go to the gym. So what was I going to do? I needed to bring people together. So there was my connection, there was my clarity. Like I needed people to help me stay accountable. And commitment is such a big one for me. Stay committed to my practice of working out and strength training. So I did that. And I found that I loved it. And it's kind of like what inspired me to kind of move into recognizing, oh, wow, this other thing that I used to love as director had morphed and shifted into working with people more on a physical level. And then I do this whole thing with, I've created journals and wisdom circles, and there's a whole mental, emotional component that I think is really important. And I found that during COVID, doing exercise, strength training, helped me physically, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
and literally spiritually. It was like my spiritual practice, and it still is. Who knew? That was a big surprise.
So I think,
So I want to do it with
yeah,
all of everyone.
things
Yeah.
I want to unpack there, right? Is that first of all, we evolve through our lives and our passions can change, come and go in certain areas and the outside society and burnout can be a part of that effect. But continuing to get clarity and going deep into your own heart, which is what the passion test is so beautifully about, is dropping into your own heart and really saying, okay, now at this moment in my life, what is most important to me? And it's okay to make those shifts. And it's important to continue to identify back into your heart space. So I will remind the audience as well that you never, ever do the passion test alone. You can learn the process by reading the book, The Passion Test, but I've proved it over and over again in workshops that people who jump ahead of me and try and do it on their own, the process comes out completely different when we step back and they allow me to take them through the process. So find a passion test facilitator if you're interested in going through the process. And of course, Karen and I can always help you with that. And then I wanted to touch on burnout because, wow, that's just another emotion, folks. It's just another emotion that we feel that is a clue, like all our other emotions, of that something's changed, something's not right anymore. And now I want to look deep into my heart again and reflect on where do I want to go from here. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I have a client who I'm speaking with actually today, later today, and he's saying that he has all his kids have left the nest. He doesn't need to. He doesn't love his job, and he's recognizing that he has pulled way back on his time, and recognizes, oh, maybe there's something else that I need to do. And he was like, "Well, I knew immediately I needed to call Karen and figure out what's my next step." And I love that when people have that sense of boredom. I mean, it could be boredom instead of burnout. It could be just a stressful feeling. I know for myself, I just felt so much stress because I was not aligned with what I was saying. I mean, I was like, wait, whoa, something's wrong here. Like, there's not this connection of my purpose did not feel in connection with what I was feeling. I was way off. And so when you know you're way off, I think, Luann, you're so right that it helps tremendously to have someone outside of you because I think we can mentally talk ourselves into what we should do. So when you have someone like yourself, myself, whomever, as a facilitator asking the questions, you get more honest. You drop down into your heart. So I love that you're saying all that.
Yes, but you just brought another word. I love to pick on words, right? And dissect them. And so folks stop shoulding on yourself. There's nothing you should do for someone else. It's what you need to do for yourself. And you said to Karen earlier, really, I think this life is a journey into self, into our own heart, and uncovering our purpose and living our passions. And when you step fully into that, I say you get connected to your life's flow and everything comes easier. It just feels easier because you're authentic.
Right. And it's a beautiful thing. I have kind of these four directions in my program that I do for the Lubin Lifeline for longevity. And for many years, people said, no, you got to focus on one thing. And I was like, well, wait a minute. That's not who I am. Like, why am I listening out here when what was inside was saying, no, you want to do this coaching clarity piece. Yes, I want to do the strength training. Yes, I want to do nutrition. And yes, I want to do these journaling wisdom circles. Those were all yeses. And when I listened, everything was like, yes. And when I was told to just do one of those things, I like got all contracted, like, oh, I didn't feel so good. But what's interesting, Luann, is even today, as we're speaking, I have noticed that there has been like a little subtle shift. I want to focus more on the nutrition and on the strength training with the clarity piece now again, because that's kind of the clients that I'm bringing in, and less on the wisdom circles just for the moment. I feel like I'm going to take a little hiatus. And I think that's so good when I can go, oh, so that's what's happening for me. And then I can be honest with everyone else and say, a little break. I want to get a little creative juice flowing with this wisdom circle journaling thing that I've done for years with that I love still, but it's not as much of a big thing where my eyes twinkle and I go, woo, right? So, but I do still feel that way with the nutrition and the strength training. So why not go there? So it's fascinating how these things can cycle even through the work that you're doing.
Right. And
So,
and what you're talking about, and you've done this for years and you're good at it, is you're also good at listening to yourself and your own intuition, feeling that contraction in the moment in what you're doing, what you're feeling, and going, oh, I need to look a little deeper in this. And many people have yet to reach that kind of ability, to say the least, right? And so I think that's another reason why it's super valuable to work with an outside facilitator. Because even for myself, I was just at a conference with my mentors and mastermind and gaining wisdom from them. And they would say things that I know already, but when they said it, it was like, oh, yeah, I got to remember that. I
Mhm.
got to do more of that for myself. And so that voice coming from someone else is the voice that you need to hear in that moment to ground yourself in your own heart. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it's so interesting that sometimes it is helpful to hear it from an outside kind of mirror. It's just mirroring what you already know, but now it's like, yeah, confirmation. Yeah, confirmation. And that's, how people say, I've heard it 2 or 3 times, and then I know. Gotta take action. Yeah.
That's
So
it,
I
right?
love that. Yeah.
And we've always said,
Synchronicities.
yep, and we've always said the teacher appears when the student is ready. So that's
Absolutely.
also a cue, though, to all my listeners to say, when you hear something that really speaks to you, know that that is the message you needed in that day and own that and be ready to take action on that, whatever it is. When that outside speaker, teacher, coach, whatever it is, says something and you go, oh, yeah, like that feels so right, then take action and make sure you're implementing that strategy, that tool, whatever they're talking about into your practices. Because following your passions and being clear is a practice. It's not an
Mhm.
overnight sensation. It's not a one time thing. It's not the end all for the rest of your life. It's a journey of gaining clarity over and over again of who I am, who is my purpose on this planet, and how do I fulfill that and live my passions in this world. And what Karen
And
and I
then
both,
saying yes.
yes,
You
then
gotta
saying,
say yes to those. That's
that's
very
right.
important, right? Yeah.
That's absolutely true. And then when you get into that, then you feel in flow and life is good, right? And clients appear and strategic partners appear. I just had that attraction last week, and I'm looking super excited to working with a expert on podcasting and podcast guesting, and so super fun for that. And so you got to say yes when those opportunities arrives, like Karen said.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And, one of the things that I'm just gonna, say that I do my own journals, and I don't care what journal anybody uses, but if they journal, and Luann, I don't know if you journal, but what I found is that, at least this is my experience, I can keep a lot of things in my head, but after a certain point, I lose it. I can't. So when I journal it, and that is especially when if you have like an obsessive thought that you can't keep, it just goes on and you're rotating that thing in your head. It's so helpful to write it down, get it out of your head so that you can release it. I have found getting the clarity is when I ask myself some questions like, how am I feeling? What do I need? Is there an action step I might want to take or not? It might be just with myself. It might be just journaling.
Right.
Then there's some movement, and I think you get like a third perspective, like it's further away in than when it's right in your face or right in your head.
Or in that
Did you want to
monkey
say something?
you're in that
Yeah.
monkey mind and trying to toss it all around, and the monkey you're balancing between the shoulds and the heart of what I want to be and going back and forth on that and getting it out sometimes makes it more clear, right? Plus you can go back to
Absolutely.
it. Right? And if you wrote something down today that you're like, really? Is that true? And you look back in your journal and you see, oh my gosh, that same message has come up multiple times. Maybe I need to pay more attention. Right? So, actually, interestingly enough, and being authentic and vulnerable, I think I got away from my journaling. And it was another reminder at my conference last week about gratitude journaling, and remember
Mhm.
to write down 3 to 5 things every day that went right
Mhm.
and be grateful for them, because the more you appreciates and you get more of what you are grateful for. And so, good reminders, good helpful tips for my audience to really use journaling to get clarity. If not reaching out to a facilitator, remember to use a gratitude journal to be grateful for all that is already going right in your world, because the world tends to focus us on all the negatives and what's going wrong. And there's still so much that's going right. I was at a animal sanctuary at this trip last week, an animal sanctuary in Canada, and the animals are very free, but the cars go through. Like the animals can come right up to your windows. Um, and just as simple as some Canadian geese landing on the water, like a whole V shape of them simultaneously together. And this gentleman sitting in front of me on the bus was like, "Oh my gosh, look at those birds. That's so amazing." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I see that in Minnesota every day." Like, how blessed am I? It is amazing, and I get to see it every day, and we forget those things
Mhm.
that are right around us that are blessings in our lives and amazing miracles in the world that take place. Like, how do those birds know to fly in that V all together and land simultaneously when we have to train humans in military experiences to march together, you know?
Mhm, mhm. Well, that's so cool. I have in my journal, I have 6 lines for gratitude every day. So I am totally with you on that. I think that's really important, and I also one of the things I just wanted to kinda go back to around the wisdom, you were saying how a person needs to listen to their own wisdom. And I don't think it's easy to listen to your own wisdom when you are listening to everyone else, unless you do either journaling, meditation, maybe you're doing some therapy of some kind where you're, just talking things through. But I still think a journal is so critical because then it's just you. Then, after you've done the journaling, to be able to communicate what you're thinking, what's going on with another person or with a group, however it works, I think is so powerful because then you're being seen and heard for your authentic, true internal wisdom that you have. And I don't think we're validated enough for that. I think, when I look at social media, Luann, I see like one thing one person does and then everyone else is doing it. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like there's no like what's the internal wisdom wanting to stay
Right.
here? But it's not. It's like the
Right.
cultural expectation is we do what everyone else is doing.
Right. Well, and that is how we historically have been trained to fit in and be like
Mhm.
everyone else. And I'm going to encourage you to be your unique, authentic self and get clarity and confidence around that to move yourself forward. And yeah, stop conforming. Stop
Exactly.
conforming and
Yeah. And
yourself.
right. And that clarity piece, just to go back to it, the journaling can help, right? So that when you start to write, what is it that you want? One of the things that I had to do to even get my mission statement clear was to look at what was my vision. Like, my vision is actually to end certain things. Like, I want to end uh, cancer. There's like a prevalence of cancer. I want to end, cardiac disease. Uh, Things like, I gotta look up I wrote it down just to make sure I said, oh, yeah, bone disease, um, Alzheimer's,
Oh, yeah.
and there's some big things that are all due to what I think is inflammation in our bodies, and, the inflammation is just like when we're in our teens and our 20s, we kinda can eat and do whatever we want, and it seems like our body just seems fine, and then 40s, things start to show up. Or in my case, I had malignant melanoma when I was in my late 20s, and I was really faced with my own mortality. And when that happens, and that can happen at any age and any stage of our lives, basically. But when we don't feel good or something like a death, something is like reflected back at you, that's when you start to go, "Okay, what do I need now to really balance my life or feed my life, nurture myself. We can call it self love, we can call it whatever we want, nourishment, um, respect, kindness. Because if we do that to ourselves, then the vision also is that people will be kinder to each other. And that's what I would like to see. That's my vision. And, there's I could go into much more detail, but that's the concept is that I wanted to see certain things diminish dramatically or just be completely gone. Like it's not there. We don't have cancer anymore because we know how to take care of ourselves and each other better.
Right. Right. Simple kindness to each other is most important. And one of the things I'm reminded of is until we are whole and complete in ourselves, we have trouble taking care of other people, right? Because we're in our
Right.
own
But
distraction of
yeah,
life instead of being kind to other people. And so I'm encouraging my audience to be whole and complete in yourself. And if it is a high priority with you, which many people it is, to be healthy and physically fit, mind, body, spirit, I encourage you to look up Karen's information, buy some of her journals, opt in to take care of you and get that clarity in your life. Karen, how can they reach you and get some of your journals?
a number of ways. You can go on Amazon and look up Karin Lubin. I mean, KarinLubin. And you'll see a whole series of different journals. I have about 9 of them.
Nice.
Then, or you can go to my website and go to Dr. Karin, Karin, Lubin, Lubin.com, and you can just see all the things that I offer. But Luann, the thing about the whole and complete aspect of who we are, that is, there's a sense that we come out and we're broken, but we're not broken. We just believe somehow that we have become broken, but we're not, right? I mean, I
Right.
know you know
Right.
this. I know
Right.
listeners know this also,
They do.
but we forget. We forget.
Right. We actually come out beautifully perfect little infants and in awe and discovery of the world. And we get trained into well, as Don Miguel Ruiz would say, we get domesticated. We get trained into a pattern of society and then we forget that beautiful human being we were born to be. And it's about a journey back into that, as far as I'm concerned. And I watch people who are really good at what they do and they're very playful and they're very
Mm.
passionate and they're excited and who doesn't want to play with other people that are in that energy space? We do,
Right.
right?
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think the big piece around your C's, I know, clarity being one of them. We have to start with curiosity and connection. Curiosity about oneself and connect internally. Then we begin to, through the writing or journaling or through the talking or being facilitated through a passion test process, you begin to get greater and greater clarity. And I have to say that, sometimes it's like, bam, immediate clarity. There you go. One time, got it. Other people, and I'm one of them, it took me 8 times, but to be taken through the passion test process before I really sank into the words felt so good. Like I just was like, yum. It was so yummy. And so I personally go through the passion test process at least twice a year. I've
Yeah.
done it once a year. And if I don't feel out of alignment, because that's kind of how it feels for me, then I'll just stick to whatever my passions are until the year and then the end of the year. And then I always, with my husband, we go through taking each other through the passion test process because he's also a facilitator. And it's really fun to be able to do that for each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then there's a whole nother conversation we could have on the passion test and relationships as well. But you just gave
Mm.
me another C, curiosity. And ever since I identified the first 6 C's, um, all these C words are now coming up in my world that are all true. But as a reminder, what the Make Your Passion Pay podcast is about for the next year anyway, that we're going to talk about clarity, connection, community, collaboration, commitment, with which Karen also mentioned, and creativity. I would love to add that curiosity in there, and I'm adding in core values and other great words as well that go along with it. So stay tuned and listen to Make Your Passion Pay podcast to learn more about the 6 C's to making your passion pay. We, Karen and I, want people to live, enjoy their life and live a long life, healthy and happy. So look up Karen's journals at drkarinlubin.com or on Amazon, Karin Lubin. And remember, it's an I in Karen, KarinLubin. And enjoy the work that she has to offer. And if I can be helpful, you know where to find me, luannb.com, and make your passion pay. We'll see you next time. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Make Your Passion Pay. If today's episode inspired you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a rating, and share your thoughts in a review. Every listener makes a difference in spreading this mission of joy and purpose. Want to take the next step? Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, or anyone looking to build a thriving, values-driven workplace. Together, we can create communities where passion fuels success. Until next time, remember, when you lead with joy, you inspire greatness. Let's keep making your passion pay.